All right, welcome back. I have a special guest here with me, one of the biggest names in comedy here in Nigeria. Someone I'm not very happy with right now. Not talking to him, but I'll have to talk to him here today because he had a movie premiere and decided not to invite me.
Right.
Yeah. Bovi, what happened?
I already explained to you COVID protocols.
So I don't reach for the...
You reach actually, but by the time all the actors in the movie, you know, the crew members invited one or two of their people, it was, you know.
Okay.
And now 3 producers make the movie, 3 production companies. So it was very...
I'll see how I feel about your explanation later. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very, very big deal. How were you able to do that? I mean, because like you said, COVID has been happening. A lot of work was stalled. I know Nollywood has sort of come back again. You know, how did that feel? Was it a different sort of experience for you shooting at a time like this?
Well, the first things first is the team I worked with, in the sense that Film One Productions and Temple Motion Pictures decided to come on board the production with me. If they didn't come on board, I probably wouldn't be able to pull it off by myself, you know, because we required a huge war chest to make that happen. And then COVID being on ground, it's cost us more having to apply all the measures and everything while we were shooting. It just made everything more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, so made us more careful, made us more serious, because when you know, okay, you don't have time and resources to waste, you will just give it your best shot. So from the actors to every other person in the team, they...
And it makes me wonder now, because for those who don't know, I mean, we're talking about My Village People. It's his new movie, so you should go and see it, but we'll get to that later. At a time like this, because COVID happened, there was a lot of emphasis on streaming platforms all of a sudden. People stayed at home and decided to watch movies more. Did you feel like it was a risk? And how has that changed the industry now, where the cinema culture was sort of affected, you know, with the pandemic? Are people coming back? Were you confident enough, or did you just feel, okay, I still have to do this anyway? What was the driving force behind it?
Well, first and foremost, yes, it was a huge risk making the picture, but the streaming platforms gave an option like, okay, if you can't do cinema, then we'll be able to take it to the streaming platforms and make a deal. Right now, the second part of this question is the cinema owners you should really ask. But the thing is, people have started to come back. And that's because man must fellowship one way or the other. So if it's a threat to the cinema culture, only time will tell. I think they're currently in discussions with streaming platforms to see how a film can be released both in the streaming platform and in cinemas, because people like to go out.
Gather the money well.
Right.
When did this Nollywood pivot for you happen? You know, I know you had always acted, but you suddenly became a stand-up comedian. That was what people knew you as. So is it a case of you going back to what it was
in the first place,
or how did this strong pivot to film now happen? Because you started on TV.
Right. I started on TV, yeah. I consider myself a Puritan. You know, so when I want to do my stuff, I like to make sure I get it right. Over time, I have found out that you can never really get it right 100%, especially in the arts. So when I made my first picture in 2015, released it in 2016, I saw all the hazards along the way, and I said, okay, the next time I'm going to do this, I want to make sure I avoid those pitfalls. But most importantly, I was making too much money from stand-up comedy. I was always on the road, always on tour. So that's why it took me like 5 years to make my next picture.
Yeah. How has that changed? The always on tour.
Oh, wow, he's dead. He don't die. You know? I mean, different societies, different cities are opening up in the world now. But in Nigeria, for example, we really can't do much because I like my full house. So I'm not about to do a show for a restricted number of people, because comedy is so intimate. You need people to actually be together to connect. I don't want to perform to one person sitting here, the next person here, because of COVID-19 protocols. So personally, until everything opens up again, I don't think I'm going back.
Do you think it's going to come back though?
It's up to the government.
I mean, when government opens up things,
absolutely.
the comedy
the nightclubs are full. The nightclubs are full.
Without mentioning it.
Yeah, but the nightclubs are full. Like, the nightclubs have been full since last year, towards the end of last year.
Yes.
Then there was like the second wave. But currently, the nightclubs are full. There's curfew by midnight, so the nightclubs get full from 8 o'clock, you know? So we are the ones suffering. But the nightclubs are full. Parties are full, even though many of the parties are open air. But I just believe people can't wait to get back.
Yeah, to normal life. Since sticking up with comedy, because I noticed that also you recently started doing a lot of collaborations with what people like to call social media comedians,
Right.
you know, or the skit makers,
Right.
or the Instagram comedians, you
Right.
know. Was that also as a result of the pandemic and, you know, because I always got a sense, and I've been in conversation with one of your colleagues who are stand-up veterans, almost got a sense from a lot of you that Instagram comedians, for want of a better term, are not necessarily seen as comedians. Do you agree with that? And what made you now sort of move to this collaboration space with them?
It's a whole new genre on its own. The online comics. It's a whole new genre, right? Because it's not easy. I've been doing skits more than 10 years ago. Before these platforms came. We used to do skits to promote our show. So I know how difficult it is to make one skit, right? And me doing stuff with them now is because I like to do skits, I like to act. Most importantly, I had a product to promote. So that was why. I remember last year or 2 years ago, Mr. Macaroni reached out and I told him, nah, I'm not ready. And he's like, why? I'm like, I'm used to doing this to promote just shows, but I understand this is a market and the time will come when I will be ready for it.
Yeah.
So that time is coming now.
What do you think about them, though?
Great work.
Yeah.
You need to be on one skit to know how difficult it is to shoot a skit.
Yeah.
Making people laugh inside a minute is no joke. These guys started before Instagram became 1 minute. When Instagram was 15 seconds, these guys were making magic. The likes of them, Sidney Talker and all. It's hard to conjure something that will get people laughing and make them start forwarding it and commenting in thousands.
Yeah.
So it's an industry of its own. And what makes it good is the fact that they also now take this content to YouTube and make money for themselves, like we've been doing.
Am I right to say that we seem to have a huge influx in that space of comedy, but we don't seem to see the same with stand-up comedy?
Yes, partly because there are no shows for now. But even before COVID-19,
I was going to say.
Yeah, before COVID-19, trust me, there's a new crop of comedians who are coming out and they are just waiting to explode. These guys hold the mic and they do their specials themselves in their own little corner, right? 1 hour straight up comedy, and you're laughing. So I know that when these restrictions are lifted, you will get to see them more. But I like the distinction in the sense that there's this online space and there is the stage craft, and these young chaps are beginning to emerge in that space and let us know that, okay, this can be done. Many of them are also doing their set in pure English. So trust me,
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they can't wait to explode.
Yeah.
Their market will be beyond Nigeria.
Because I think that's one of the biggest criticisms I've heard of Nigerian comedians, where, you know, we see a few people who cross over internationally from other African countries or anywhere else in the world. And it's always like, Nigerians comedians can't do it. All they know how to do is make jokes in pidgin English. Is that a fair sort of judgment or assessment of stand-up comedy here?
Yes and no, because you can't lump all of us in a box. I can do my stuff anywhere in the world. I've done shows in as far as Australia in English, right? But here, the truth of the matter is that there's too much juice in our pidgin English. Pidgin English is like our lingua franca. There's poetry in our pidgin English. So sometimes to connect more, you have to do it in the language that touches the heart more. Across Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Ijo, Isoko, Ishekiri, Urobo, down, pidgin English connects. I've done shows in the northern part of Nigeria. And when they're trying to speak English, and they were looking at me like this because they wanted to hear the pidgin English. So yes, for us to cross over, we have to do in a language that the world, most of the world speaks or understands, and that's English.
Yeah.
But for our market here, the money is in the pidgin.
So you have to sort of stick with that at least.
Yeah, I mean, you can mix it both ways, you know. Now that streaming platforms exist, for us to cross over, we have to do it in English as well, because I'm not a fan of subtitling pidgin English jokes.
Yeah. Are you looking at that space though?
Absolutely.
Because we haven't seen a homegrown Nigerian special on the platform. I think we had one from a Nigerian in America who had a special on Sheyi Brown, yes. But we haven't had one of our own here who has come on. Is it something that's...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even before the lockdown, I was already mooting the idea. I spoke to a few aggregators and they said, oh, I should record it so we'll go and market it to Netflix. I'm like, why? Why can't Netflix reach out? If Netflix asks you who can do it, tell them me. Then let them make an offer and we'll do it. But I'm not going to make a tape and start hawking it, because the negotiation starts before the negotiation starts. If I do that, I will not have the upper hand in negotiation. And I trust what I'm bringing to the table. So
I want to talk perception now, and with the comedy industry. One narrative I always see is how united the Nigerian comedy industry is, especially you guys who have been in the game for quite a bit. Oh, they're always, as against other sectors of entertainment, you guys seem to have each other's back. This person has a show, this person shows up, and all of that. But I've also seen conversations about that being a myth, where there's actual competition. You know, you guys don't necessarily like each other. And this is just a space where, on the face of it, it looks a certain way, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of headbutting. Is that true?
I don't know. Personally, I don't think everybody can like each other. But one thing I know is they don't necessarily hate each other. Yeah, it's a tricky situation, right? As regards the shows, I've got a lot of flack in that regard, because in the beginning I used to do everybody's show and they'll be like, yo Bovi, when is your show, so we'll come support. I'm like, no, I won't do it the way it's internationally accepted. Yes, so we're doing a night of 1,000 laughs. I'm willing to be on that platform, but it got to the point where I'm like, I can't be on a show that runs by a comedian's name and everybody else is featuring, and then you, the comedian, you come on your own show and you're not telling jokes, you're just emceeing and bringing everybody to perform. Then we go home and you make all the money. Then you take that content, put it online or sell it, and you make all the money. So I'm like, both ways, it doesn't favor who's on the show. I want to do a show and have a command performance. That's like my own version of an album. I don't want to be 15 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, just on rotation like that. I think it affects growth of my brand, you know. And then when you grow to a certain stage and a comedian, you know, you can fill up a venue, for example, on your own, and somebody's telling you, oh, come and do 10 minutes on my show. There comes a time where you've grown to, you really can't be doing that anymore. So that's what it is. If you want to grow, you have to be able to hold the mic.
Yeah, you said you can't be friends with everybody, but you also can't be enemies. You're not necessarily enemies. So are you cool? Would you say you're cool with every comedian you know?
Most of them.
Most of them? So there are some that you're not cool with?
Absolutely. I mean, if you want me to keep it real, absolutely. And not because of anything, but if you have a way you operate and it's not in sync with the way I operate, if your style offends my spirit, I will just stay away. I'm sure there are people who don't like me, and that's cool by me, you know. But we're not, even in the church, there's friction. So
there's a lot of stories about you and AY and your relationship, how it started and where it is now, to a point where people believe you guys are not in talking terms. How did it get there?
I think we just grew apart. This question took me unaware. I think we grew apart, you know. I like to do my own thing my own way. And if your style is different from my style, we just grew apart. Yeah. Basically. But we're cool. When I see him, I say, what's up?
Fair enough. I want to pivot away from all of this now and talk about the headies. Because you wore a shirt to the headies, which drew admiration on the one hand and also criticism on the other, from depending on what side of the divide people were. what was that meant to achieve for you, and what did it end up achieving for you? Did the point you were trying to make get made for you?
I'm a storyteller. I tell stories when I'm on the microphone. I tell stories when I write. I tell stories when I'm acting. I'm a storyteller. When the whole NSAS debacle started, like, I was really worried. I was really, really worried. Worried in ways I can't really put in words. And I felt if I was going to be a part of this, I needed to send a message that was loud, really loud. I was at the toll gate one of the days, and I liked the energy, but I didn't think we were communicating the right way. I didn't think having concerts was sending the right message. It wasn't wrong. It was helping keep the energy levels up for the demands to be met, but we were not sending the right message. The government probably thought this was a jamboree, that we were just being miscreants, nuisance. I was there just once. So I said, like in everything I do, I will have to pass a message. I will have to pass my message one way or the other. And when it hit me in my sleep, I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I tried to talk about it as well, but everybody was saying the same thing, and I'm like, okay. When that idea came, I'm like, this is it. I'm going to do this. Let it be clear for people to see. Yeah. And that's what I did.
Very well done. Let's talk family very quickly before we go now, because I see your daughter a lot on your Instagram. Mm-hmm. And it looks like you're preparing her for your market. Is that the plan? You want her to start paying rent early?
Very early. I want to retire early. You know, my daughter happens to be my birthday mate. You know, so it's through my daughter I've started to believe a lot in all them zodiac signs and horoscope, because when I see her, I see a younger version of me. I also see the me that could have been when I was her age. But the era we grew up, they will slap the taste out of your mouth
if you tried.
If you looked your senior in the face, or you spoke back, if you expressed yourself, it was regarded as being rude. That kind of timidity. You know, they taught us to shrink ourselves when we were growing up, from home to school, you know. So my inquisitive nature, they tried to tame me. So once I found out she was like that, not just her, my other kids as well, but she's the one who tends towards the arts more. So I'm like, okay, big ups.
Let's groom this.
Let's groom it. Let's channel it.
I mean, I'm here for it, man. And happy Father's Day, of course. On a day like this. Before we go now, quickly on My Village People.
Right.
It's out.
It's out.
Where are we going to see it?
It's in cinemas all over Nigeria. And until you get into these things, you really don't understand the kind of things that can affect it. Our opening weekend, rain fell across Nigeria. I'm like, okay, so this can affect your figures too. But by Sunday, everything picked up. We've been number 1 7 days in a row now. Hopefully, it continues into this week. I wish other films success, but we should wait. We should wait. So
that is why I run its course.
Yes, everybody should go and see my movie. I'm sure they'll like it.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations once again. My Village People is out in cinemas across Nigeria. Are you working on anything else?
There's a whole lot where that came from.
Young
a
girl.
Whole lot. Trust me.
I hope I get invited for that one.
Oh, sure.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
We'll take another break now and be right back. Please stay with us.